we have created the update component that we know we will use in a lot of places. By now, we have to import it and define it in the components option within the component we want to use it, like in the post list. Since update is a base component, it makes sense to register it globally and then use its tag directly wherever we need to. To register a component globally, Vue provides a method which is the app.component. We can use this method in our main.js file right after we create the app and before we mount it to the DOM. Let's import our update component and register it globally. The component function accepts two arguments. The first argument is the name of the component we want to register. In this case, this is update. The second argument is the component object, that is the one that we just imported. Now, this component is globally available in our application, which means that we don't need to import it and register it in the components we use it. So we can remove the import statement from post list and thread list, as well as the component from the components object. Let's see if that still works. And it does. This is great. But since we have decided that our base components will have the app prefix, we could set it up so all our base components are automatically registered globally. I will show you a secret recipe on how you can do that. I will head over to the Vue style guide and navigate to the base component names rule. If you expand this, you can find this code block in the end. What this code does is to look for all the files in a directory that start with a prefix and then automatically register them globally using the old Vue component method. This code is based on Vue 2, but nothing stops us from updating it and using it in our Vue 3 application. So I will copy it over to our main.js file. First, I will try to fix the ESLint issues automatically. And I will replace var with const. I see this is red, and that's because we are assigning it a new value, so I will use let here. That should be fine. Let's continue with a refactor. In the first line, this code looks in the folder src that's supposed to be in a nested level directory. In our case, we're already in the src directory, so we can either do that or tell it specifically to look in the components directory. Here you can notice the word base, that it's a prefix, and in our case we have decided to use a prefix app, so I will change to that. So this first line, it will look in the components directory here, and we'll find all the components that start with the prefix app. Cool. Then it will do the magic to load the files, and lastly, it will register the components using vue.component. Notice how the syntax is the same. It needs a base component name and a base component config, which is exactly the same as the component function that we use here. So I will use our forum app variable inside this loop, which will go through all the app components and register them globally. This means that I can remove this line from here. We also don't need to import the update component because this now happens automatically inside this code. So now we should be able to use the update component everywhere without writing a single line of code. Let's check it out in the browser. It still works here and no errors, which is great news. Now, if we create a new app component, let's say app something, then we should be able to use it everywhere without writing any code to register it. Let's try to use up something in thread list. And here we can see the template coming from up something. You can see that this component does not have any code that imports or registers this component. It has automatically been registered by our magic code that we have inside main.js. Awesome!